Well, Adiz is live in Washington, D.C., and he joins us now live. He's got plenty more on the relationship between Turkey and the US. Adiz.
Exactly. In the aftermath of the failed coup attempt, there were a series of roadblocks in the bilateral relations between Turkey and the United States. It was not just because of a late response, a response that Turkey thought wasn't strong enough, and it was also because the extradition process right now here in the United States, after Turkey's request to take Fethullah Gülen back, has actually seen little to no progress. And for more on this now, I'm joined by Yenal Kucuker, who is the executive director for the Turkish Heritage Organization here in Washington, D.C. First of all, I'd like to start with you as a Turkish American. What do you think of the American public opinion? Do you think they have a good understanding of what FETO is all about and what possibly led to a nationwide coup on that day?
Thank you very much for having me here today. Well, first of all, as a Turkish American who's been living in America for the past 20 years or so, I think the American community absolutely has no idea what has taken place a year ago in Turkey. And American community does not have enough information about what the Gülen community is, the Gülen organization is, and how extensive they are, not only in Turkey as well as the United States. That's why it's very important for the Turkish American community to unify and educate the elected officials and the American community.
And I know that along with you as a Turkish Heritage Organization, we've also seen the embassy, other think tanks organize all sorts of events trying to raise more awareness about the FETO terror group as designated by Turkey. Now, how effective has it been so far, given how strong they're established here in the States?
It's a great question. It hasn't been as effective as we thought it would be. Number one reason for that is because the Gülen movement has been very effective in terms of their PR campaign. They've been running a very strong PR campaign for the past, I would say, 8 to 9 years, and that they're now bearing their fruits, obviously. And I can give precise examples about NPR, National Public Radio, that they interviewed Fethullah Gülen just a couple of days ago, Washington, another Wall Street Journal, New York Times. All of these prominent media outlets are basically covering his stories, his opinions, and op-eds, basically. As a result, as Turkish American community, we're trying to get the word out there. We're having really difficult time getting anything on the newspapers, and it's basically we're running against a wall every time we try to reach out to the American media.
Very interesting indeed. We've also heard from Robert Amsterdam, Turkey's lawyer here, saying that approximately they spent $500,000 just on their PR campaign. It's actually much more than what Turkey spends in its own lobbying efforts. But also, as a last question, let me ask you about the situation regarding the extradition process. How much of a sticking point does this pose right now, do you think, in the bilateral relations? And if the extradition doesn't make any progress, do you think this is continue to be a problem in the future?
It will certainly continue to be a problem in the future. I'm not a legal expert, but I can tell you as Turkish Heritage Organization, we've been following all the developments, talking with experts, organizing panels on this issue. And there's a treaty that goes back to 1979 between the two countries. Based on that treaty, Turkey is basically asking the arrest of Fethullah Gülen. So far, the government officials in the U.S. basically are saying that it's a judicial process. We need to follow the due process. Obviously, Turks are very much frustrated by this because they want to see immediate results, and rightly so, because this is a no small matter, and they'd like to see results. I personally think that this is going to continue. It's a very slow process. I think within a year, when we come back a year after this, we probably won't have any results, and the extradition process will slowly be maybe a little bit further down the road, but I don't think we'll have any significant outcome.
And it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your perspective. Yenal Kucuker there, he's the executive director of the Turkish Heritage Organization, obviously closely following all the developments in the bilateral relations. But I can tell you, in terms of the extradition process, it is in general here in the States a very complicated process. There are both legal and political tracks that they need to move on. Legally speaking, for the justice officials here, it's not enough proof that Gülenists in Turkey on the ground were carrying out the coup, they actually want specific evidence that Fethullah Gülen himself was the person giving that direct order, an evidence that could be near impossible to find. But even if they actually find enough evidence, there still has to be political will, obviously. But as we've seen, the Trump administration's first 6 months in the office has been quite controversial, as they've been facing serious allegations of potential collusion of their campaign with Russia. They've been finding it very hard to tackle any of their top priority foreign policy issues. And obviously an issue like Fethullah Gülen's extradition is certainly in the back burner for now.